Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. Good morning, traders. It's November 4th. That is a Monday. Happy Monday. Hope everyone's week goes great. Quick futures check S&P 500 trading up about 6 points to 1760. Dow Jones trading up nearly 50 points, more than 50 points to 15,594. Nasdaq 100 is trading up more than 16 points to 3,384. Let's get a quick check on a couple commodities. Crude oil trading down about a third of a percent, 94.26 per barrel. Gold trading up about $8 to 1321.80 per ounce at last check. Euro stocks closed up nearly a half percent. FTSE 100 up about 0.53%. Yes, he's president of Penn Capital. He'll be talking ETFs. Let's get a couple of quick news headlines. BlackBerry shares about 3% ahead of a 5 p.m. deadline for Fairfax's $4.7 billion bid. Heads up to the IPO players. Twitter is expected to begin trading on Thursday of this week. Pretty quiet earnings this morning. Not a ton of earnings. However, after the close tonight, we will have Anadarko Petroleum, SF Industries, Dry Ships, Hertz, and U.S. Auto Parts Network. We will have ISM New York for the month of October at 9:45 this morning. Also, we'll have factory orders at 10 a.m. Earnings from Tesla will be tomorrow. Shares of Tesla trading up more than a percent ahead of those results tomorrow. On Thursday this week, we will be getting GDP, while on Friday we will be getting the jobs report. That's at 8:30 a.m. sharp. Joel, how you doing this morning?
Well, do you want the good news or the bad news?
I think I'm one of those guys that likes the good news first.
Well, I'm going to switch it up on you. I'm going to give you the bad news.
Oh, okay, fine.
Bad news is Michigan got whooped by Michigan State this weekend in football.
Oh, was there a match this weekend? What's kind of match?
Not at the game I was at, but the good news is I made it home alive. I didn't get beat up, so I'm back here to do. I'm back here to do the pre-market info show here on Monday. Dennis, how you doing today?
Not too bad here, Joel. My monitor died on and doesn't even turn on, so I've never had that one happen before. So scrambling to try to find another monitor to replace it, but I got one. Looks like it's going to be a technical difficulty Monday here, but
Gonna
we're
be
good.
one of those days.
Yeah, Monday. So S&P futures here are trading up 5 points. So the bull continues to move higher here in the pre-market. 1761 has been the high. 1753 and a quarter has been the low. So we got a tidy little 8 point after hours range.
Right, opened up and got right above the close. Just a couple levels for our traders to keep an eye on. 61 and a quarter was Friday's high, and Thursday's high was 64 even. So a little bit overhead resistance up top, and of course, if you come back to the close, we'll find some support.
We got gold trading up just slightly here in the pre-market, up about 0.3%. About a few dollars here, and really gold here has been actually pretty quiet here last couple days.
Right, we've broken down from the 1350 level, haven't crashed through 1300 yet, so still holding in there above the $1,300 level. As you so commonly see in the gold futures market, you get a nice move and then a few days of consolidation. Here we are in the consolidation period, so overhead resistance up at Friday's high at 1327.30. Major support down at, well, let's call it 1305.60. That was Friday's low.
And the leak in the price of crude continues. This thing just drifts down. It seems like every morning we come in, it's down about 40 cents, and it seems to lose another 30, 40 cents throughout the day. So just a steady decline here ever since we broke 100 just 9 trading sessions ago. We are now down at 94 and a quarter, and the crude leak continues.
You had a big level taken out in Friday's trading. That $96 level had held forever. You'd had 3, 4 lows in there, and then as you commonly see, you'll hit a major support level, won't get a bounce off it. You open up near that level, boom, went crashing through 96 here. So on any kind of rally, I know we're $2 away from there. That's going to be your major resistance point. Now, going to look for support in crude, Dennis, I have to go all the way back till June 26th of this year when we made a bottom at 93.01. So no major support in crude until that lower 93s, believe it or not.
I think we must have some breaking news here in BlackBerry, BBRY. Maybe the Benzinga team can find this right now because I just watched the stock. It was trading up at 8:30 about a minute ago. It's down at 7:45 right now. I know the Fairfax deadline was today. Did they say something about that just now here? Brent, you got something breaking. 7:07 just hit
Got a report
BBRY.
from Globe. BlackBerry said to replace CEO and has abandoned a sale plan.
There you go. So the sale plan abandoned here, BBRY just breaking right at $6.91. I just started at the beginning. My sense was at 750. It's at 686. This thing is in free fall right now.
Did you have your, instead of alerting us, you had your finger on the sell button, you'd be
I
up
should have.
some.
I should have my finger on the sell button, but holy cow! Just ticked to 661. Now bouncing a bit, 673. This is ugly. This is new lows here for BlackBerry. The story just gets worse here for this stock.
Well, we haven't talked about it a lot because it really had been staying in a really tight range, right around the $8 level. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, well, if this thing's getting taken
Taking over
out
at
at
nine. Yeah.
taken out at $9, then why the heck wouldn't it be trading anywhere near nine? And as you can see here, the
Ooh.
company, yep, is losing its bid that it had here. Now it's in free fall. Be
Six.
interesting. Yeah, where our last trade? Yeah, 634. I
34.
mean, you think you think it's going to go to zero today?
I don't know. It's just free falling here, though. This is incredible for BlackBerry. Obviously, the $9 Fairfax bid has been on the table for the last month and a half. We knew they were having trouble with financing, and the deadline was coming. And obviously, here they're just not going to get the financing for that. And now that this deal and that's fallen apart, there was rumors over the weekend though that Qualcomm was possibly interested, and with Cerebus, and they were looking with the BlackBerry co-founders at a possible bid. These were all rumors that were breaking after hours, and actually BlackBerry was trading up at like 810, 820 Friday night on those rumors. Well, I guess those rumors aren't going to come to fruition. It doesn't look like if they're saying that the sale, that they're abandoning a sale. That is about the worst thing you could say right now because everybody is banking on a sale for BlackBerry. So it's ugly here, folks.
Can I give you a level?
Yeah, find a level for me. Find something.
Okay, okay, well, we hit that 627 panic low just seconds ago as Dennis, you kind of broke that news on us. But if you go back to October of 2003, remember that, Dennis? We made a low at 617. We've hit 627 here in the pre market. So perhaps if you're holding a short off this news, 617 down to the psychological $6 level. Pretty soon we'll be talking about the psychological $5 level in support. But looking for support to come in BlackBerry here between 6 even 617. We got a 627 low.
Yeah, volume flying on this. It's all over the place. We'll come back to it in a few minutes because it won't be at 650 probably in a few minutes. It's going to continue to bounce around here. So let's just move on to a few of the other stocks here. We wanted to cover a little bit of the Big Ten here because we haven't covered the Big Ten too much on the show here. And there's a lot of technical levels and obviously a lot of traders, starting with the biggest of them all, Apple. It's actually consolidated for the last 4 days since it's had earnings. The ranges have been getting tighter and tighter and tighter in Apple. And Friday's range actually only about $9, 524 at the high, 515.84 at the low. What do you think? What are the technicals saying here on Apple?
Well, it did the numbers, and you got a big level to look at on the upside here. If you are waiting to buy this on any kind of momentum here, Wednesdays and Thursdays highs were within 3 cents of each other. Very rare for a $527 stock. So we'll keep an eye on that. It breaks above 527.50 here. I think you're good to go to the upside. We're $7 away from there. I wouldn't, don't think you have to hit the buy button right away. Coming back on the downside, Friday's low at 1584, and then the 4 day low at 1434. So you got really two areas are between 514, 527 and a half. I mean, I just think it's wish wash there. I think you're really taking chances here till you play those major levels.
What a wild ride for Exxon Mobil on Friday too. Look at this chart there, Joel. It obviously was trading up just a few days ago, 90.50, got all the way down to about 88.27, and then found a bid in the afternoon. This was Friday afternoon, and just started rallying, closed near the highs. Got up, kissed $90 actually, and closed up at 89.82. It is ticking up to $90 here again, but that $90 psychological resistance level, that's sitting and kind of standing out to me.
Right. Well, you had what you had going on in the dynamic in the morning that dragged the stock down was the bad
Chevron.
earnings out of Chevron Corporation. So if
Yep.
you were trading that as a pair, your leader was Chevron. That was trading lower, so that dragged it down. Found support at the 88.27 level. 88 had been support. No right number right at 88, but you did have a round number. You got the pop up right near the high. You're breaking above that. 90.55 was your main print on the primary exchange on Thursday, and then of course you had that straight print at 90.96. But
Right.
looking at 90.55 to be your next resistance level. Coming back on the downside here, should find some support here at the close 89.82.
Might as well talk about Chevron with this because it did break down. Obviously, the earnings weren't good out of Chevron, and it was really weak there on Friday. Got as low as 117. Did find a bid. A lot of stocks caught a bid towards the end of the day. There were a few buy imbalances that helped it out a little bit too. But 118.01 is where it closed. So it closed okay. It's trading up another 20 cents here, but the chart kind of looks broken to me. You had that big run up basically for the entire month of October, and then we consolidated for 5, 6 days, making multiple lows in the 120 area, and then the earnings took us through it.
All right, that 117 low, we're a buck away from that, a buck and a quarter away as we're trading at 1827. Keep an eye on that if we come back, to 17 even. I think buyers will be stepping ahead of that. The only thing I just want to point out to our traders about this chart here and how you had this, stair step rally going up, and then you had a real tight range in the issue. This was, I believe, the day before earnings, little over, less than a point range from 121.16 to 122.01. Then you made a double top, and that signaled your reversal here. So I don't know. As long as we stay above 117 here, I think it's good to go to the upside. You break below 117. I don't see any support until you get in the lower 116. 116.32 was your low on October 14th.
Here's an interesting chart. Microsoft, it kind of had a 1, 2, 3 since the earnings report. It's had about five highs in the same area and 4 or 5 lows kind of in the same area. That's finding good support down here at this 35.26, 35.30 area, and finding pretty decent resistance up at 35.79. So I guess you got this range here until it decides which way it wants to break. There's a lot of air below because obviously we gapped up, 5 days ago. But there's air above it too, so I think I'm gonna wait and see which way this breaks and maybe go with it.
Right, I was talking with Jake about this on Thursday and how we'd had 4 days in a row at that time of a tight range, and just to see what he thought about maybe playing the 36 calls and the 35 puts, and he talked me out of it, saved me a few dollars there because the thing didn't move again. But
Yeah.
this technical situation will resolve itself here eventually. It seems like it had the good earnings, but you're not getting that follow through up to the 36.29 level, which was the high, but neither can you take out. I mean, you've had since that earnings day. I mean, you basically have had one, two. You've had six lows within a 20 cent range here. So, channelingstocks.com is probably all over this one.
Johnson and Johnson quietly closed at the high or near the high on Friday. Had a pretty decent day actually because it was weak early on in the morning, but then caught a bid and closed fairly strong. It opened up near the lows and ran straight up actually. And 93.37 is where it closed, and that's a high of for October here on Johnson and Johnson.
Right, it had that big sell imbalance on Thursday and knocked it, and
Yeah.
then there were a few sellers on Friday on the exit, so it opened up. Couldn't quite get to Thursday's low, so you got a double bottom in place at 92.32 and 92.38. Ways away from that, trading up at 93.74 in the pre-market here. That has been the high of the recent move. No major resistance until you get to the all-time high in this issue at 94.39, 94.37. That's another 50 cents away here. Maybe if you get a pullback out to the close, you'll be able to find a lower risk entry on the long side.
Another stock that made a new high on the move was General Electric, 2663. It ticked up to, which is a high. I think that's a high for them. Yeah, that's a
Uh,
multi-year high actually
oh
that it
yeah,
just ticked up to. So impressive strength for GE because it actually closed weak on Thursday with all those sell imbalances we talked about, and then they came in obviously, and they came in with their buying shoes on. They bought this thing all day Friday.
right. This stock's just been marching up here. This is a longer term chart. Going back to the financial crisis. So nice. I mean, you could boom. If I could draw a trend line, you could see a trend line here, but it's coming up into the lower 20s, whereas a ways from that. Looking at GE, I believe this is financial post financial crisis highs. Hasn't traded in this 26 handle since you go back until October of 2008. Back in September of 2008, you made a high at 29.38, but that's almost like you should almost slap me if I talk about GE going to 29.28. I think you just have to keep an eye. Are we trading to yesterday's high yet, Dennis? Here, yesterday's
Just
high.
no, I don't think we've ticked above it. We ticked to 2664, which would just touch us just above it, just 400 shares up there. But we're offered at 2657 right now for 5800. So we're offered actually just traded out the 5800 shares.
Gentlemen, shares of BlackBerry just halted with news pending.
They did that in the right order, eh?
I
So
think I think I think you're supposed to halt it and then announce the news. I don't know.
Unless they've had even more, which is worrisome.
They must have been tried to, what I can't remember what you call that on BlackBerry, like the special messaging system there. Yeah, they must have had it turned off or something. Just doing a quick review of that. We are halted near the low here, 627, 633. But Dennis, our traders. You look at different things. Did that pop? Did you have that? Do you have like a big list of stocks that you follow and you just happen to see that, or is there
I have a
how
filter.
else? You have a
So,
filter.
so I
Okay.
have a whole, I have multiple filters actually that search the market for certain criterion, and I have a leader filter and a laggard filter, and it just popped right to the top of the, when it started selling off. And I also have a volume filter where if something has a crazy amount of volume suddenly, it'll pop up there too. So it just got lit up in multiple filters for me, and so that's how I can see that so quickly when that's breaking. Obviously, the volume would have just shot right up with that news, and I'm like, well, that's news for sure because I was actually looking. We were going to talk about BlackBerry because there was the rumors over the weekend that Qualcomm might. There was, multiple sources saying the Fairfax bid wasn't getting financing. They didn't think so. There was lots of headlines even before, and then obviously, this headline just blew everything away, and nothing else matters when they're, going to give up a sale. So yeah, so it's the filters that help me, to try to give me ideas and stuff, and I use different software for that.
Right, and if you said if your monitor wouldn't have blown this morning, certainly those prints would have sent just some sparks off in that. But yeah, well, interesting to come out to see what they say with the news. We did mention that low back from 2003 at 617.
We were just finishing the Big Ten here. Just going to Google here. We're going to do Google, Procter Gamble, Wells Fargo, and then we'll catch Merck and we'll catch the other news stocks here too. Google here was quiet again on Friday. Actually, only had a 10-point range, so this is actually consolidated here for 3, 4 days too. It looks like it's kind of winding up to do something.
Right, holding above the $1,000 level with ease here. Just need to alert our traders to a level on the downside. We're a couple bucks away from there. Thursdays and Fridays lows were within a buck, 10.23.97 and then 25.10. So call that whole 24.50 area major support. Even had a low at 26. I see that on Wednesday. So no need to worry until you get below that 1024 level in Google. Coming back on the upside, I did notice a couple closes around the 1030 level on Wednesday and Thursday. But we are trading below that. I call that the minor resistance point. 36 even was Friday's high.
This Procter and Gamble chart's interesting. You had the double top from Tuesday and Wednesday up at 82.62 and 82.56, and then it sells off, and then you kind of almost put in a double bottom at 80.72 and 80.64 from the last two trading sessions. So we go from a double top to a double bottom, and we're kind of in the middle of that. What are you thinking on this PG?
Use those levels. I mean, as major support and major resistance. The close 81.15. You're trading above that. You break above this 81.60 level. I think you'll get right back into that 82 handle. Coming back on the downside. You break below the 80.70, 80.64, 80.72 level. You could go down to the nice round number of 80.
And talking about consolidation, there has
Oh
been
yeah.
no consolidation any more than Wells Fargo. This $43 level we've talked about on the show multiple times. I know you've been talking about it too. We did break out of there for 2 days, but then on Friday, where do we top out at right around $43 again? So it seems like somebody is still taking a piece off at 43 in Wells Fargo.
What do you think about that, Dennis? Do you stay away from it because it's just in a tight range, or
No,
do you
no, I
do you try?
sell. I've done it a couple times. I've been selling the 43 level, and it did take me out once because it did break out. So I actually, the one time there I lost, I think a dime because I thought, oh, it's done, the trade's done. But now that it's making that top there again, it gets up into the 42.90s, and I'll probably try it again because it's been resistance there for 5, 6 days, ignoring the couple of breakout days. It just seems like there's resistance there, and somebody's willing to take a piece off. So I'll be willing to take a piece off there too.
You lost a whole dime, huh?
Well, you don't want to lose much more than that on Wells Fargo. We
Wells
can only lose
Fargo.
like 15 cents a day or 20 cents a day. So if you're losing more than a dime, you're losing half the day's trading range. So, so you got to be concerned, and that's all about the trading. You want to, obviously, certain stocks, you've got to have, tighter, stop, and I never use stop orders, but you've got to have tighter risk management because they don't move a lot. If you're losing 20, 30 cents on a stock like Wells Fargo, that's usually the day's range. So, and obviously, if you're trading, long term or investing, it's one story. But if you're day trading the stock, like I mean, trading it all day, you can't lose more than a nickel or a dime on it because it just doesn't. There's not that much potential there.
Right, all these multiple lows here. You had three in a row at 50, 42, 55 to 57 at the end of October. You hit 58 yesterday. And what I notice sometimes with stocks like this, they get in this kind of range. It either takes a big market event, like just a rip roaring rally in the S, which we always have, or it takes a downgrade, or government coming out and
Yeah,
investing them for
yeah.
mortgages or something. So there's a lot of times I don't really, the news is not always my primary trigger. But when a stock gets in a tight range like this, that sometimes this will move it out of the range here. It did close on the lower end of this trading range, so buyer beware here below 42.55.
Looking at a few.
The official release from BlackBerry is out saying it has received a $1 billion investment from Fairfax Financial and others, naming John Chen as the company's chair and interim CEO, confirming that Thorsten Hines will be stepping down. Also saying that a review of alternatives has concluded. I think that's about it. I don't see too many other headlines.
Did you say 1 million or 1
1
billion?
billion.
Yeah,
So,
that's with the
so they
Bravo.
get some cash.
So
So
what's
they're
that
not
going to
getting
do?
taken over; they're just getting cash. Because before Fairfax was giving them, going to, take over the whole company. Now they're only going to give them $1 billion to keep them floating. Is that really how I'm reading this,
I,
Brent?
I think they're
It,
just going to throw one more bill into the coffer before they call it a losing position here. I mean,
well,
what
the
else could?
market cap
They're
was
putting in
at
the
the
breathing
close.
tube.
The market cap at the close was 4 billion, 4.06 billion. It's obviously a lot less now here. So when they're putting a billion into it. It looks to me like they're not obviously, they're not taking over the company. Before on the table was to take over the entire company, which was almost a $5 billion bid. So I mean, they're getting some money into it, but it almost looks like they're just trying to keep the company floating. So I don't know if that's great news here. I don't think they're going to come out here and rebuy this thing, but it's hard to say. When it comes out of the hot, we'll see how the market digests it here. But I'm not loving that headline.
And Brent, do you have a time for the reopening of this issue?
Not yet. No, it's not
I haven't
not out
announced it
yet.
yet.
I'll update you when that comes in though. It should be over the next, I don't know, few minutes that we get resume time.
Okay, thank you.
DJ in the chat wants to talk about the telecoms here a little bit. Joel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile there. Let's start with AT&T here because this stock has actually been on a pretty good tear as of late. It's obviously lower in October, bounced off the 33, which I had great support down there, but it's been marching, and it's marched up and actually made a new high at 36.80 on Friday.
Right, sold off that level, trading up here in the pre-market. 36.80 was Friday's high. Haven't been up in this area in quite a while here. You did have a high at 37.15 on May 31st, or at the end of May. So we'll keep an eye on that as level. You get a lot of big institutional orders at the 37 even dollar level. Also, I just can't remember exactly what the article I was reading in Barron's over the weekend, but they did give a little love out to T-Mobile, thinking T-Mobile might be infringing a little bit of on Verizon and AT&T stranglehold on the on the cellular market, but that doesn't seem to be affecting the stock right now. 36.47 our last print. First resistance point 36.80.
Go to that T-Mobile chart for a second. It's TMUS and stock. Actually, I'm kind of liking this chart a little bit. It's been marching. It's been marching. I mean, if you want to buy strength, this stock's had a lot of strength here. It did break out and make a new high on the move. I would have liked to see it close over 28 and a quarter. I'm not in love with the close. So what I want to see for this bull run in TMUS to continue, I want to see it take out Friday's high at 28 and a quarter. And I want to see it do it today. And I want to see it hold obviously above 28. But in the pre-market here, we are bouncing. So we are probably going to see that. We're up at 28.95 right now here in the pre-market. Light volume though. So you got to, take that with a grain of salt, obviously. But it does look like it's going to continue to make a new high here today.
Right, you are getting that bump here in the pre-market. Perhaps a little bit the Barron's bounce here. It's not really a bounce because it was moving up.
Yeah.
So favorable article here. Believe this is an all-time high for this issue as well. Maybe if you want to have some patience in here, you are breaking out above the 28 and a quarter. Maybe you get some profit taking over the next few days and come back down to that level. Former resistance level, perhaps new support.
And Verizon has actually consolidated here. And actually, this is an interesting chart too. Ever since we took out 50 about 10 trading sessions ago, we've topped out multiple times around the 51.40, 51.46 area, but we continue to find support in the mid 50s. So this is just setting up as one of those other ones where you kind of got this range going on. Call it channelingstocks.com, call it whatever you want, but they're buying this in the low 50s and selling it in the mid 51s.
Right. Did getting a little bounce, 50.33 low with a 49 close, getting a little bit of a bounce in the pre-market. But boy, that 51.50 level, that sticks out like a sore thumb. 51.46 high on Friday, 51.49 high on Tuesday. Then you go back. You did get above that level back at the end of August, but seems like sellers are protecting that 51.50 level. On the other hand, if you break down the 50, I mean, I just don't like to see these kind of areas where you go from 47 to 50 in 3 trading days. If we've seen on so many occasions here, 3 days of gains can be wiped out in one bracket.
It's got to hold above 50. That's the key level. If that thing broke 50, I'd be real nervous too. But it's looking okay still because we have consolidated here for a while. So that's my bogey too. I agree with you, Joel. Breakout down through 50. A lot of air below there. Brent, you had some the news on earnings on Kellogg's. There's not a lot of earnings this morning, but Kellogg's symbol K did break. You got that report there, or actually it was Jake. I think Jake had the report. Jake, you
Yeah, I can
there?
do the rundown if you like.
Thanks, Jake.
Actually, is
Yeah,
Jakey there?
yeah, I got you. You guys hear me?
Okay.
All right,
We
awesome.
got you, Jakey.
Good.
Shaky
All right,
Jakey.
so so we did have earnings from Kellogg. They reported EPS of 95 cents, which is the 89-cent estimate. So nice beat on the bottom line. Company also beat on the top line, 3.72 billion versus expected 3.71 billion. The real news seems to be what it was included in that release. Company announced it would cut its global workforce by 7% and through consolidating facilities and quote unquote eliminating excess capacity. Following that, company released some EPS guidance, bumping its fiscal year EPS guidance up to 375 to 384 a share. Street was looking for 377 a share. It also sees its sales up 4 to 5%, and capital spending to rest in around 4 to 5% of sales in 2014 and 2015. It looks like they're expecting annual cash savings of 425 to 475 million by 2018 when they get through with this workforce reduction. I was watching the chart earlier, and there wasn't a whole lot of action in it. You're seeing it bid up at very thin volume, so might be something you guys want to watch. Definitely some, I guess, bullish news at least for the shareholders there from Kellogg.
Right,
Yeah.
we are trading above yesterday's high, which was 63.29. Even got a spike higher in that. 63.40 has been the spike in the pre-market. But once again, a couple thousand shares have traded here. This is not a real heavily traded stock. 2 to 4 million, but to get up a stick on a couple thousand shares, I'm a little skeptical of that. If you don't get followed through to the 63.83 level, which you're high on Thursday, I think you perhaps come back down and not quite get to the close and the low, but just seems to be a little lofty here in a couple thousand shares. Wouldn't you say, Dennis?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like you've got overhead resistance. You get in the high 63s, and then you had the double top up there, kind of at 64.40 and 64.28. So you're looking at that chart, and I can't see getting too excited here as it's approaching the $64 level. It's 63.40 right now. So hard to be a buyer here up here. I think if you got a pullback, maybe you could try to hope for the rally to continue here. But I'm not in love with the Kellogg chart here either. It's just bouncing back from basically its losses on Friday. We did have one other food stock report this morning, Cisco SYY, and it's lifting up here too. So the sector is probably going to be pretty strong. It's trading up here. I don't have the earnings report. I don't know if the boys actually I do have 49 cents versus 48 cents, and 11.71 billion versus 11.62 billion. So a slight beat on the bottom line, slight beat on the top line, and the stock just ticked up a buck and a half here on light volume too, though. Only 5,100 shares, but trading 33.98.
Whew, 33.98 here, that last print. Couple thousand shares have traded, 5,000 shares. Just looking at the daily on this thing. Another stock, moves 40, 50, 60 cents a day. You get a buck 50 move here in the pre-market. Haven't traded at these levels. You had a real bad day back on August 12th. I'm not sure what the reason for that was. That high was 34.48. Here's another one. We talk about the scenario with stock in the book here, perhaps holding the price down at the open. You had obviously someone was selling Major League here at 32.60, 32.62. That was two highs in a row. You think this thing will open up low enough to perhaps make it a lower risk entry on the open? Because I know you're not buying this thing at 34 bucks.
No, I'm probably not buying. I'm probably sitting on my hands on this. I think this one's thin though. This is a thinner stock, and I don't see a lot in the book. There's a few slight orders, 4,000 shares of 33, 4,000 shares of 33.10 in the book. So that liquidity does become active at 9:30, but that's light. That's very light, and this is going to start. It just bid up here at 33.80. So it wouldn't surprise me if this actually did open over those highs that we saw, which was 30. So I actually tend to like this chart better than the Kellogg chart, just because if you can get over that whole 33.53 area, you do have a whole lot of air, probably almost up to that 34.5 area where it had broken down from back on August the 12th. So I tend to like this chart a little better than the Kellogg one, but at the same time, I just don't know if I'm chasing these stocks.
Okay, before we close out this portion of the broadcast, just BlackBerry. I don't think we have a reopening time yet in the
Ooh,
issue.
it actually just crossed. It's 9 a.m.
9
Oh,
a.m.
oh, we're going to
Yep,
cover that. That'll be interesting. So,
got about
Oh,
18 minutes.
Does that mean I should change on my watch because it says it's quarter to 10 here, daylight savings time? I guess so. Dennis, I know you're tempted on a situation like this. I'm sure there's a lot of traders out there, seeing this stock, trading down here significantly in the pre-market. Now you got a little bit of good news coming out that they got $1 billion coming their way. Do you have any advice for our traders out there? They're gonna take a shot in this, or do you have any strategies that you may be employing?
The one thing I like to do is let the dust settle a little bit, because if you're just throwing orders out there right at 9 a.m., anything can happen here. Like they can construe this either way. They can construe it, okay, this company's getting, $1 billion, so that's good news. But let's be honest here. They were talking about, a month ago that the company Fairfax taking over BlackBerry. So here you are now, you're saying they're only going to just throw them $1 billion. So it looks like they're giving them a lot less. Although we knew that bid, the market wasn't really, thinking they were going to get the
Market didn't
financing for
agree.
that anyways. Yeah, the market didn't agree. It was telling you the bid probably wasn't happening. And that's obviously why we were trading significantly below that price. But here it is. The news is out now. They are going to give them some money, which is good news. But because they're not taking over the whole company, can that be construed as bad news? I'm really interested to see how this opens at 9 a.m. And obviously watch the lows that it makes after 9, watch the highs that it makes, between 9 and 9:30. And we always say use those levels, because those levels could come into play during the regular session as well.
Right, and just to going back here, that this obviously the stock hasn't opened yet, but just going back to a stock that had a lot of pre-market trading, Facebook, and we were on with Sanglucci, and we were looking at the prints here, and remember the battleground that was going on at like 47 and a quarter,
Yeah.
in the pre-market, and just tons of volume. Well, someone made a stand there on the long side, and yeah, it did go down to 46.50 after that, 46 and a quarter, but hey, if you look at it, an hour and a half, 2 hours after that, hey, those 47 and a quarter buys
Pretty
weren't
good.
too bad here. So this is time. Keep an eye on the tape. Closed near the low here at 627. Closed at 620, 633. We'll look for the reopen here. 617 was the low that we had in October of 2003. You have a psychological $6 level. One thing I will say though, if you open up here at 640, 650, 660, and you don't get immediately follow through that $7 level and recoup some of these losses here, we could be trading under $6 here in BlackBerry. Well, that's our show for today. We got a little excitement here from BlackBerry, and now we're going to move on to Mighty Joe Young with this morning's news.
Oh, coming right at you. Thanks for the intro, Joel. I appreciate it. Going around the world today with the most recent headlines. Best Buy is daring bargain hunters to use its stores as showrooms. With 4 weeks to go before Thanksgiving, the big box retailer is running television ads that tout its stores as the ultimate holiday showroom, playing on the phenomenon in which shoppers visit traditional retailers to check out products and then leave to buy them online for less. That's a big reversal from last year. Concerns that Best Buy was losing sales to online retailers at alarming rates send its shares plunging toward the single digit territory. Analysts warn that the company's 1,400 brick and mortar stores were becoming little more than a testing ground for Amazon.com's customers. Google said on Monday that it will invest $610 million in the expansion of its data center in southeast Finland. This is on top of the 350 million euros it has already invested into the site. The Hamina data center, which started operations in September 2011 after an initial investment of 200 million euros, uses the naturally cool seawater from the nearby Gulf of Finland in its cooling system to reduce energy usage. The data center was built into a shuttered paper mill purchased from paper and pulp company Stora Enso. The wind tax credit is poised to lapse, Politico reports. It could expire by the end of the year, and that expiration could hurt the wind industry, which saw construction of new wind projects grind to a virtual halt in 2013 amid uncertainty over the subsidy. The production tax credit gives wind power owners a tax credit of 2.3 cents for each kilowatt hour of electricity they produce. The New York Times reports that under the Healthcare Act, millions are eligible for free policies. Millions of people could qualify for federal subsidies that will pay the entire monthly cost of some healthcare plans being offered in the online marketplaces set up under President Obama's healthcare law. 3 independent estimates by Wall Street analysts and a consulting firm say up to 7 million people could qualify for the plans, but that federal officials and insurers are reluctant to push them too hard because they are concerned about encouraging people to sign up for something that might ultimately not fit their needs. TriPoint Homes, the West Coast builder controlled by Starwood Capital, is merging with the home building subsidiary of Weyerhaeuser, a large owner of Timberlands, in a deal valued at $2.7 billion, according to the New York Times. The merger will create one of the 10 biggest home builders in the country, a combined company that will own or control some 27,000 lots in fast-growing markets, the company said on Monday. Samsung has been developing 12.2-inch tablets and adopted a film-based capacitive touch solution mainly provided by China-based Shenzhen O-Film Tech, with production to kick off at the end of 2013, according to Taiwan-based supply chain makers. Nokia said Samsung, the world's largest mobile phone maker, agreed to license its patents for 5 more years, a boon for the Finnish company, as it seeks to rebuild revenue after selling its handset unit. Samsung agreed to pay Nokia additional compensation starting January 1st, according to a statement from Espoo, a Finland-based Nokia today. The amount will be settled in a binding arbitration expected to be concluded in 2015. The previous agreement was set to close at the end of this year. The LA Times says the French-based Airbus is calling on the industry to adopt a comfortable standard, at least for the seat width. It released a study last week that says a minimum seat width of 18 inches improves passenger sleep quality by 53% compared to the narrower seats that have recently been installed. The study was based on 1,500 participants at airports in Singapore, France, Germany, and the Netherlands. Airlines for America, the trade group for U.S. airlines, rejects the idea of a standardized seat width, saying each carrier should be free to install the seats that best suit its needs. After a chaotic start, the trial of ousted Egyptian President Morsi postponed until January 8th. The trial of ousted Egyptian president began on a defiant note inside a sealed courtroom here Monday, with Morsi refusing to don the required clothing and telling a judge, "I am Egypt's legitimate president. I refuse to be tried by this court." Oh, man. Mobile semiconductor giant Qualcomm is muscling its way into the set-top box. Actually, that Morsi, that reminds me a little bit of Larry Flint wearing the American flag as a diaper to court.
I
Mobile
knew you
semi...
had a thought still
Yeah, you knew it
still
was
in there.
coming.
You were
Oh,
thinking about that one for a while.
I was. Well, like I didn't really have that much color on this one, so of course we have to go elsewhere. I also just watched that Phil Spector movie last night and about his appearances in court as well. Oh, did I just lose it?
Nope. Did you? Nope, you're gone. Joe is coming back. Nope, Joe. Aw, I'm sorry, but we lost Joe. But that was our editor at large kit, Jake. Would you like to take over where Joe left off?
I'd love to, Brent.
That's so awesome.
Yes, I'm just giving you guys a quick update this morning on what's moving out there. It's been a little bit of a quiet trading session so far, to be quite honest, but we do have a couple things moving out there. I want to give an update on Kellogg. I know I gave you guys a rundown on that earlier, but Kellogg remains bid up right now. It's at 63.25 is the last trade I see, with 63.40 being the high. Looks like it closed around 62.30 on Friday. So keep an eye on Kellogg at the open. Like Joel has been saying, it's fairly thinly traded, but with earnings and a lot of news, it could be on the move today. If you haven't heard already, BlackBerry is abandoning its sale process. Just saw the official Wall Street Journal article move through. So as you get the bigger names reporting on it, it may continue some follow through on it as retail investors make moves. Company shares are still halted. They will come off their halt at 9 a.m. The last trade we see is at 6:33. Company is receiving $1 billion in capital, so it's possible there may be some bulls that try to jump into this. But in general, right now it's been bid down pretty heavily. Shares almost down $2 from the close on Friday. There's other couple companies reporting earnings this morning. I'll give you guys a quick rundown of how earnings are looking. We did have CME Group reporting company reported EPS of 75 cents versus the 75-cent estimate. Revenues did miss, coming in at 714.6 million versus expected 723.35 million. Jumping over to the chart to see how that's moving. Very thinly traded this morning. See a low of 74.05. Last trade being 74.30. Our Friday close looks to be resting around 74.69. So not a huge amount of movement there in CME Group, but keep an
Yeah,
eye on them.
Jake.
Yep.
Jake, let's take a quick look at this though.
Do it.
You are trading down 40 cents here in the pre-market. You had a couple lows on Thursday and Friday at 74.17 and 74.20. I like that. You also go back a little bit here. You had a couple other lows here at 74 at the beginning of October. So there's the support point. You guys could tell looking at the chart here, if it breaks out that support point at 74, don't be afraid here to play it on the other side because it opens up well into the 72 handle down to 72.29. Coming back on the upside, sellers were ganging up at 75, 18, and 19 on Thursday and Friday. Trading down back in the pre-market here. Expect that $75 level to be resistance.
Did also have a couple other companies reporting earnings this morning, including Realogy Holdings. That's Romeo Lima Golf Yankee, smaller company there. Company did report $1.02 in EPS for the expected 85 cents, so a solid beat there. Revenues came in at 1.55 billion versus expected 1.48 billion. Seeing shares really trade up this morning. We saw what was it close on Friday was at about 40.74. Last trade I'm seeing is at 43.75 with a high this morning of 44.89. So watch that one at the open. Joel, do you have any thoughts on Realogy there?
Uh, Trying to bring up the chart here, you did have some resistance at the $43 level. We have taken that out now. Let's take a look on the daily charts here. You had a high at 44.29 on the 28th.
So keep an eye on Realogy Holdings there. Could be an interesting one at the open as well with the kind of momentum it's got. Did see Cisco Corporation, Sandy Yankee, it's the other Cisco, reporting earnings this morning. EPS came in at 49 cents versus expected 48 cents. Revenues coming in at 11.71 billion versus expected 11.62 billion. So you had a beat on the top line and beat on the bottom line. Hopping over to the charts. We did see a close of around 32.50 on Friday. See a high this morning of 34.11 with a last trade sitting at 34.05. Volume seems to be picking up within the last 30 minutes or so. But before that, there was just some spotty trades towards the upside. So keep an eye on Cisco there towards
Right.
the open.
Right, breaking above 34 here. We had talked about letting this thing float up here in the pre-market. You had a high of 34.48 on August 12th here, so if you want to let it float up another 50 cents here, that will put it up $2 on the day. Put it up well over 5% here. That was also a level that just had a really bad day back in August. So some people may be looking to get out of there back at the 34.50 level.
Another company reporting this morning was Vulcan Materials Company. That's Victor, Mike, Charlie. EPS came in at 32 cents, was expected 27 cents, so a beat of over 18.5% there. Revenues beat as well, coming in at 775.2 million versus expected 774.13 million. So beat on the top line and beat on the bottom line there. Let's see if there's a whole lot going on VMC there. Very, very thin volume this morning. Last tick I see is at 54.30 with a high on Friday of 54.87 and a close of around was at 53.61 on Friday. So Joel, I don't know if you see anything there. Very thinly traded though right now.
Yeah, 400 shares have traded in the issue here in the pre-market to get it up to this heralded level here. Keep an eye on 55. 55 even was your high back on last Tuesday. Also multiple highs at 54.86, 94, and 94. 70 cents away from there. If our seller was there on all of last week, we'll see if they're seller today here on the good earnings.
Did have some news coming out of Canadian Solar this morning as well. That's Charlie Sandy India Quebec company released some guidance, some preliminary Q3 results. Basically, is raising its shipment expectations from 410 to 430 megawatts up to a new range of 460 to 480 megawatts. Company did release some sales guidance that wasn't exactly in line with what the street was looking for, 470 million to 495 million versus street estimates of 495.3 million. Despite that seemingly lowered sales guidance, the increased shipment seems to be getting the street bullish. We had a close Friday of was at 25.53 or so. This morning we've seen a high of 27.73, last trade of 27.20. Lots of action in that so far. Joel, what do you think here? I know we've gotten a lot of action in the solars the last couple of days. Want to take a look at a couple of the other solar names at the same time since they tend to move together. First Solar, who did have good earnings on Friday. That's Foxtrot, Sandy, Lima, Romeo. Shares are also trading up on actually pretty strong volume. Close it was at 59.10 on Friday. Last trade I'm seeing is at 60.89. Actually, 60.80 is the last trade. The high this morning is 60.89. So holding above that $60 level right now on fairly strong volume. Keep an eye on First Solar this morning. Other ones we might want to take a look at are Trina Solar. That's Tango Sandy Lima. Also gapping up, hit 15.99 at its high this morning, bounced right off with the last trade coming in at 15.80. At the open, we may want to take a look at the solar ETF. That's Tango Alpha November. It's Guggenheim Solar. Right now, it's not moving, but when we get to the open, it could be some action. We've seen it actually not rallying too hard the last couple of days, despite the strength in the solar sector. So keep an eye on that one. Joel, any thoughts on that solar sector as a whole? I know we've gotten good earnings from SunPower. We've gotten good guidance from Canadian Solar. Some good news from First Solar as well. I guess we're just waiting on what Solar City and a few others there.
Hey, real quick,
But
Joe, BlackBerry shares did just resume. The stock was halted when it was down about 18%. It's continuing lower. I see now down almost 21%. Last trade at 614.
no bounce at off that
Wow, that's rough.
billion dollar investment here. Shares of BlackBerry continue to head lower here, taking out that October of 2003 low at 617, treading above the $6 level here. So no let up here. Coming up to a nice round number like $6. We'll see if someone uses that as a potential place here to cover some shorts or I don't know, initiate some longs here, but seeing a lot of red. Looking at the tape here, a lot of red ticks. 611, current low, heading towards $6. So just have to keep an eye on this one. The good news fails to move the stock, takes it down another 10 cents here. Getting a slight rebound here back over that 617 level. Let's just give our traders the pre-market low as we're speaking here, a little after the 9 o'clock hour. We did get to 610. So 610 to 648 has been the range here since the reopen. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. You mentioned a lot of solar stocks here, and I just can't pick up all those acronyms. So I'll just go to TAN here, and that's the ETF for this. If you want to take a look, trade the ETF here as an alternative to playing the individual stocks. Let's take a look at how TAN here is trading in the pre-market. Trading flat here, 37.65. So not getting a lot of movement. Looking at the daily charts, yesterday's high still a little ways away from there, 38.07. We'll keep an eye on that as a resistance point. Nice range in there, buck range 36.98 was the low that you had on Friday. So really no discernible pattern here yet in the ETF. So if you're playing the individual stocks, try and pay attention to the technicals on that. We're gonna go to Brent here as BlackBerry goes under $6. Brent's gonna cover some ratings for us.
That's right, but first, holy cow, I got a new amended S1 from Twitter. They are raising their expected price range. They previously been in the $17 to $20 per share range, now seeing $23 to $25 per share. That is another S1 filing out from Twitter. They are raising that range.
Now, didn't Barron say that they were fairly valued at $20 a share? Is that what you're saying, Joel? And that $30 would be too much? It's just kind of interesting as they're breaking up above that $20 share valuation.
That's right. They're kind of treading in between here, saying that they'd buy it at 20 and 30 was overvalued here. So it's interesting that they've upped the range from it. Going on Barron's past performance on the Facebook, it seems a little bit of a reversal here. But lower end of the range, they moved it from 23 to 30. So you just have to see how it trades within that range. I know that I got way too bullish Facebook off the IPO here, so I'm gonna reserve tweeting out my projections for the price here until I'm gonna let a little action go because I got a lot of egg on my face when I was bullish Facebook at 38 and it went to 17. So just reserve here 23 to 30. 30 is the higher end of the range here. Barron's a good call on that, calling it a buy at 20, even though it's never traded there.
Yeah, and suddenly we got a busy news morning just like that. We get some BlackBerry, we get some Twitter. The news desk is popping. But I'll
Brant, it
get
looks
back.
like you got some action between Men's Warehouse and Joseph A. Banks there. More
Holy
more
cow,
chatter between them.
you're right. Yeah, okay, so Men's Warehouse saying that the Joseph A. Banks proposal undervalues company. Just hitting the wire just a few minutes ago. For whatever reason, Monday's got to be a crazy news day. You thought you're going to come to the office, be able to, kick your feet up on the desk, maybe relax a little bit. Nope, hitting you with the news. Let me finally get over to those top rating calls this morning. Top upgrades. We do have HSBC making some calls on a number of the fertilizer names, upgrading potash from underweight to neutral, also upgrading agrium from neutral to overweight. Goldman Sachs making a call on a couple of the steel names, upgrading a couple notches, mind you, AK Steel and US Steel from sell to buy, also upgrading Steel Dynamics from neutral to buy. Atlantic Equities upgrading shares of Salesforce.com from neutral to overweight. SunTrust upgrading shares of Abercrombie and Fitch from neutral to buy. Also in the retail space, UBS upgrading Kohl's from neutral to buy. And one more top upgrade, Barclays did upgrade Occidental Petroleum from equal weight to overweight. A ton of big name upgrades this morning. Moving on to the downgrades. Goldman Sachs downgrading Reliance Steel, also in the steel sector, from buy to neutral. That was the only downgrade that they had in that sector-wide call. Goldman Sachs also downgrading shares of Gap from buy to neutral. Piper Jaffray downgrading shares of NetApp from overweight to neutral. JP Morgan downgrading Teva Pharmaceuticals from neutral to underweight. That's the equivalent of a sell rating JP Morgan just slapped on Teva. Citi downgrading Aflac from buy to neutral, and UBS downgrading shares of AstraZeneca to neutral. Couple of new ratings, new initiations this morning. We have SFX Entertainment getting one, two, three, four, at least four new buy ratings. We have Stifel, we have UBS, Jefferies, and Deutsche Bank. Also, another issue which is open from lockup, Antero Resources, that's ticker AR Alpha Romeo. We have buy ratings or the equivalent at BMO, JP Morgan, and Raymond James initiating with a strong buy rating. Wells Fargo more on the sidelines, initiating Antero with a market perform. And one more this morning, Atlantic Equities initiating shares of Twitter with an overweight rating and $34 price target. Let me look at the wire really quick, see what other kind of news came out. I'm sure. Actually, I don't see too much, believe it or not. Finally, a second. I can relax for a second.
Well, let's take a look here as BlackBerry shares have hit the $6 level, getting a bounce here up to 6.34. So the buyers between 6.17 and $6 have been rewarded here. Perhaps there was a large bid out there in the pre-market, and the HFT guys got active in the pre-market, holding that $6 level here. So you are getting a rebound. The high after the reopening here has been 648, trading at 636. So that $6 level so far holding up in shares of BlackBerry. Let's go back. I mean, we got to talk. I mean, too bad we don't have Mr. Sazi on today. I don't know if he's listening in here in the chat room, but he, gave us his dour outlook here for J.C. Penney here. The stock is been in a rally mode here over the last couple days. $2 off the low of the move. It double bottom at 623 and 624. We'll have Brent scan the wires here to find some news here. Trading up in the pre-market over Friday's high. Friday's high 831. We are trading at 843 with a high in the pre-market at the $845 level. Going to the daily charts here on JC Penney, have not traded up at these vaulted levels since it traded at 851 on October 4th, the day before my birthday. So that's a potential resistance point. Also, 878 was the high on the 3rd. But your major resistance, perhaps coming into today's session, be a nice round number like the $9 level. So J.C. Penney here on the road to recovery. Perhaps we can get Mr. Sazi back in here and see what that's attributed to. Maybe they're looking for a decent holiday season. Moving on, Brent really ripped through those upgrades and downgrades, so I didn't get a chance to look at all the technicals in here. First, let's start with our fertilizer stocks. Potash, POT is the symbol on that. The stock has kind of been in a consolidation mode here. That news, the cartel breakup and the price supporting, the stock has never really recovered for that, but finding good support at the $31 level. We're not going to see that today. Hasn't traded above 32 here since October 22nd when it traded 32 and a quarter. Also had another high here at 31.95. So you're getting a buck pop here on halfway decent volume. Tick 31.95 in the pre-market. Perhaps if you're looking for a lower risk entry in this, 31.57 and 31.40 were the highs and the close from Friday. So those could be a potential lower risk entry point. Also, part of that upgrade from HSBC was Agrium, AGU. Let's take a look at the technicals in AGU. Kind of the same story here. Hasn't been able to recover from the breakup of the cartel. This one's not getting as much of a bounce here in the pre-market. Actually, no trading in it. 85.96. We have not been able to take out yesterday's high in that. Above that, you do have a double top right at the 86.50 level. So AGU seems to be the laggard here on this upgrade from HSBC. Gap stores going into the holiday season, getting a downgrade from Goldman Sachs. We'll see what kind of follow through that is getting in the market. Goldman Sachs here carrying a pretty big stick in the street, has his stock trading down 38 cents in the pre-market, and not getting the chart here, but if you can look, there has been multiple lows in the lower 36s here So we'll keep an eye on the 36 even dollar level. Below that, I mean, you even got some weekly lows here at the $36 level. Below 36 here, you do find some more support just above 35 at 35.10 and 35.19. Going back here to shares of BlackBerry, 50-cent bounce off the $6 level here. So perhaps the low for the session is in at that $6 level. A lot of times when you get a bounce like that in a low price stock here, if you do get a pullback down 620, 6.25, basically where it was trading at before the halt, see if the support, perhaps use a 5 or 10 minute chart here to see if the support actually is moving up in shares of BlackBerry. Moving on here, Goldman Sachs. Hopping on the steel sector here. We'll take a look first at shares of X, U.S. Steel, getting a benefit of this upgrade here, trading up 92 cents in the pre-market. Has even been higher than that. 26.98 has been the high here in early trading. Looking at the dailies in the stock is breaking out here. Looking at the longer term chart here, you need to go all the way back until uh, you need to go back until May of 2012 here on the weekly here to find resistance at 27.10. So that's a first resistance point. So U.S. Steel on the way back here. Not sure if you want to fade this Goldman Sachs upgrade. The other stocks here in the steel sector, part of the upgrade, a lower price stock here. We'll take a look at AKS. AK Steel here, trading in the pre-market, getting a little bit of a boost here from the Goldman Sachs upgrade. 36 cents. I guess that's a pretty big boost here. Trading up near the $5 level. Have topped out at 5 in the pre-market. That would be your initial level to keep an eye on as resistance. Uh, Going a longer term chart, the stock has not been over this $5 level. In fact, well, it peaked at right at $5 at the beginning of the year at 4.94. But it has not been above the $5 level until you go back to November of 2012, where the stock traded as high as 5.55. So, also, can't the institutions hop in a little bit more? Or, $5 isn't that kind of like a threshold for institutional participation in the issue?
Of course.
Well, they probably own it from 5 and a lot higher too. So we'll see if they can get a boost above the $5 level. Aflac, despite raising their dividend, the Aflac Duck here is getting a downgrade from Citigroup. Let's take a look at the chart of Aflac here on the daily. It's had a nice run up here. Let's see if we can get a gleam of what it's doing here in the pre-market from the Citigroup downgrade. Trading down 41 cents here in the pre-market. Still trading off. Looking at your range from Friday, we are through Friday's low at 64.90. You did have a low on Thursday, 64.65. So trading on minor support here. Below that, you fall down to the $64 level in shares of Aflac. Going over the charts here, NTAP is being downgraded at Piper Jaffray. Take a look at shares of MTAP as they are trading here in the pre-market. See what kind of influence the downgrade at Piper Jaffray is having on the issue. Trading down 63 cents, trading through Friday's low. Have to go back on the charts here. You have to go back to July to find some support here in shares of NTAP. Had a couple lows here at the 38.35, 38.40 level. So opening up into a little bit of support here. Actually, there was 3 consecutive lows at the 38.40 area. If you can't get a bounce on that, we will be looking down to the 38.09 level, which was the low on July 3rd. Shares of BlackBerry on the road to recovery here. Maybe they're using that $1 billion to go out and buy the stock right now or something because you are 50 cents off the off that pre-market low of $6 even. Moving up, looking there's really not too much in here. It hasn't traded these levels in quite some time. Perhaps your shorter term players, maybe targeting, the $7 level as an exit point here in shares of BlackBerry. Just moving on to some of the stocks that were covered in Barron's over the weekend. And folks in the chat room, if you have any questions on issues that you're looking at this morning, wanted to see how the news of the weekend, how the S&P movement is affecting your issue. Feel free to throw it in the chat room here. Just going back to the S&Ps here, made a high at 62.75. We are trading above Friday's high. Your next resistance point will be 17.64 even. That was your high on Thursday. So the S&P is getting a nice boost here. We'll see if we get follow through the 64 even level. Moving on, just a little bit of a doubting article here on the new strategy to be employed by Sears Holding here. Let's take a look at this issue. Has had a couple quiet sessions. Doesn't look like the shorts are using this article as of yet to inflict any damage on the stock. Looking at the upside, 59.04 and 59.08, those were your highs from Thursday and Friday. That's going to be your resistance point. Above 59, things really open up to the $63 level. Coming back on the downside here. Kind of weird here, 57.37. We did close a buck above that, so that's going to be your first support point. Looking at shares of Callaway Golf here, lower price stock, been on the move. Favorable Inc. in Barron's also taught them as a potential takeout target here. Some of the other golf companies have been taken out by some of the bigger players. But looking, it's had a series of five consecutive lower highs. Came down on Friday to 823. It closed at 835. Getting a little bounce in the pre-market here. Using that 831, 823 level as support. Those were the lows from Thursday and Friday. Below that level, you go back down to 782, which was the low on earnings day, and then got a gap to fill the 740 level. So not getting a lot of follow through here.
Joel, I'm wondering if you have any kind of criteria for deciding whether a piece in Barron's is going to move the stock at all. Anything specifically you're looking at? I mean, obviously, the tone of the overall piece, but anything you kind of use to decide?
The first thing I'd like to look at is I like to look at like the pre-market level. So obviously in something like Sears, there's not any trades, but you take a look at a stock like CVA here, Covanta Holdings, and this stock I noticed had an interesting chart, and it's had a big drop here, and it's finding it had found a lot of support at the $17 level. Obviously you're gapping up 80 cents here, so what I do is if I was trading this thing, if I was looking at perhaps approaching it from the short side, I would keep an eye on, you can't buy it, right? It's a bullish article, it's up a buck, so you can't chase the thing. I would look at the pre-market high, which is 1837, and then I would see if there's anything in the daily charts here to confirm that to be a resistance point. And really what I'm finding is that since that stock has had bad news on the daily, there was a high at 1802, but there's really nothing in there. So I wouldn't feel comfortable shorting the thing. What I would look up at the 1920 high. It's another buck away from here. It's a potential resistance point. But with it being a favorable article, I perhaps would try and look for a pullback, perhaps under 18 here to try and purchase it. A bullish article here on shares of Discovery Financial, just kind of lagging the big card holders, but Barron's did like their smart lending and new new banking products here. That stock hasn't had quite had the rally of Visa and Mastercard. But we'll take a look at the pre-market. You have it trading up $1 here. The high, you've had it higher than that, traded up over $53. Had a high. Wow, where did this thing get to? 53.11. So 53.11 is your resistance point. If you go to the dailies here, you did have a high in the stock a few days ago at 52.91. So looking at the $53 level is potential resistance. Coming back down, don't like to buy it on a gap situation. So I like to see it come back. Maybe not today, but over the next day or two, come back to around the $52 level. Also, taking a look, a value player in Barron's was talking about some of the steady growth in earnings in stocks like Procter and Gamble that pay a nice dividend. He was looking at that as a potential stock to be continue to be adding in his portfolio. Procter and Gamble has had a nice run, is trading at all-time highs. I guess looking at this one is the last 3 times, 4 times it traded above the $82 level. It really had a hard time sustaining that. So I think you could find a lower entry point here than the $81 level. Haven't looked at shares of Coke or Pepsi. Those are other two stocks that were mentioned as a potential value play. Coca-Cola, slow-moving stock, one of Warren Buffett's huge holdings here. Been running into problems just under 40 here, multiple tops at 39.96 and 86. So perhaps a big seller sticking out here, keeping shares of Coke under 40. Looking at same stock, or not same stock, same sector. Shares of Pepsi Cola here. He mentioned also having some potential value. Take
Joe,
it.
we got a question on Carl Icon's Icon Enterprises. That's IEP. I know the company, I believe they had some earnings this morning. Maybe take a look at the chart, see what's going on there. India Echo Papa. Icon, good old Enterprises.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Seem to be having some symbol problems here. IEP. Just will go off to see what this stock is done, trading up 5.5 bucks, so it must be pretty good earnings. That shouldn't be a shock here. Mr. Icon has been knocking it dead here in the markets, trading up at 107.51 here in the pre-market. 107.63 trading. Actually, it's been much higher than that. It has traded up to 109 even, and we've backed off a buck of that from that level. So keep an eye on 109, quite a ways away. Now we've dropped $3 off that level. I think traders may be looking here, besides that 109 print, at the recent high of the move here at 107.73. So let's keep an eye on 107.73 for Icon Enterprises, as well as the pre-market high of 109 even.
Thanks for that question in the chat. Just did want to remind traders, if you have any issues that you're a little uncertain on this morning, please throw them in the chat. Just a ticker is all that's necessary. We'll have Joel take a look, get your very own personalized investment analysis right from Joel.
Good, bad, or indifferent. We will take a look here. DJ always coming up with a few stocks with us here. UAN. And I have to take a look at this one. CVR Partners Limited Partnership. Looking at this issue, trading kind of a wild couple days here at the end of the month. Got back under the $18 level after spiking down to 17.17. Buyers ganged up 1775 to 1780. That's your major support level. Not doing much in the pre-market. I think you get a move here through the 1869, which was Friday's high here, and you don't see a lot here until you get into the $19 handle. So keeping an eye on Friday's high here in UNM Partners to see whether or not it's a dead cat bounce here. If you do slip back under 18, you got to be conscious here of the four lows between the last four trading days between 1775 and 1780. Also, a couple issues here from DJ CVRR here. Another limited partnerships. DJ, you like these limited partnerships, huh? Let's keep an eye on this one. See what the activity was here. Bad day on Friday. Spiked down to 2080. Recovered back up to the 2286 level. Before you start hopping in this one here, I know you did sell a buck and a half off the low, but certainly like to see a little bit more of a consolidation here. If you're trying a lower risk entry here in this one, you certainly got to use that $20 level as a potential exit point. Also here, taking a look at CVI. CVR Energy here, the stock. Boy, you like to look at these stocks that are spiking down, huh? Uh, this one has major support though, forming at the 3250 and 32. Boy, this is a thin one, DJ. I don't know if you should be trading this one at all, man. 2, 3, 4,000 shares. I'm gonna, I'm gonna move off that one. That is a thinly traded one. Instead, looking. Oh, I pulled up CVR and it's actually CVI. Sorry about that one. There it did have a spike down on Friday to 36.10, coming off the $40 level very hard. Closed at 37.06. I guess you want to see if you can at least protect that 36.10 low here. You did have another low at 35.64. So best case scenario in order to hop in this one, perhaps look at this 35.64 to 36.10 area. See if you can trade around there and at least come up with a base to trade off. We're 2 minutes here from the open. Just shares of BlackBerry, believe it or not, continue to rally here off the $6 level. Perhaps some shorts here moving their bids up. We talked about taking a look after making that $6 low. What's actually taking place here on the 15-minute chart? That's the shortest time frame that I like to use here. $6 since making that $6 low. The next bracket low has moved up to 642 here, 16 cents away from here. We'll see if shares of BlackBerry can continue the trend here off that reopen of higher lows and higher highs. Currently 668 was the last print. Over a million shares have traded here in the pre-market. As we go into the open here, Brent, is there anything else hitting the wires that our traders should be aware of?
I don't believe so. Was a rather busy morning, but it seems quiet on the Western Front. There's a ding, 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 ding. We are open for trade.
Okay, let's move into the S&P 500 futures here. Take a look at what they're doing off the open here. They at 62.75 pre-market high. Haven't been able to hit that level yet. 62 and a half. So we missed it by a tick. BlackBerry coming back down to that former low at 642 here. A little bit of weakness. I believe buyers will be stepping up here between the 6 and the 640 level. Next level in the S&P 500. After you move above this high, you had a high on Thursday at 64 even, so we will keep an eye on 1764 as well as the pre-market high. Looking at some issues here that did get some coverage in Barron's. Sears Holding, negative article, doesn't seem to be hitting the stock here off the open. We'll take a look at that here on the chart. Really kind of a up there. We got a tick down 54 cents here, 57.40 low. That stock is down. Sears Holding down 54 cents. Looking on the daily charts, major support here under 56, 55.13, 54.95 to 55.13, multiple lows. Still $2 away from that. 640 the low here in the session. Shares of BlackBerry now making new highs since making that $6 low, 672 the recent high here. So highs are moving up a little bit here in shares of BlackBerry. Shares of Callaway Golf getting some favorable coverage in Barron's here. Moving up in the after hours of pre-market, also making an 855 high. We did have two highs at 860 and 864 in Callaway Golf, so now they're 8-10 cents here away from resistance. CVA, they make fuel out of trash here. Nice coverage in Barron's here. It was trading up in the pre-market. That trend is continuing here as you've made a new high during the session. You've made a high at 1850. Actually, you traded up to in the pre-market, so we will keep an eye on that. Actually, got up to 1855 here. So shares of CVA moving up over $1 here on the favorable Barron's article. S&P still at the high, $1.50 away from Thursday's high at 64 even. Moving on to some other issues that we talked about during this morning's broadcast. Shares of J.C. Penney coming off that 6.25 low, trading up in the pre-market. Made a high here, 856, kind of an incremental high here. We'll keep an eye on the daily charts of J.C. Penney. Hasn't traded up at these levels since early October. It traded up to 878, but also had a former high at 851. So keep an eye on that 850 level to keep the rally going here in shares of J.C. Penney. Also, taking a look here, shares of Apple here. Very, very tight range on Friday at the end of the week. Trading up $2 here in the pre-market. No major resistance in Apple until you get Friday's high, minor resistance 24.80, but the major resistance for shares of Apple up at the double top at the 527.50 level. Icon Enterprises had the big move up in the pre-market here. Way overdone, obviously, in that pre-market trading that printed 109 even. Wasn't even able to get to the high at 107.73. That was the former, I believe it was the all-time high in shares of Icon Enterprises. Google here, moving up here with the broad market here. Did notice a couple double closes at the 1030 level. Google making a high at 1032.27, but unable to hold that 1030 level. S&P's incremental new high 1763, still $1 below Thursday's high at 1764. Shares of BlackBerry after hitting 672 here, pulling bit back here to the 650 level. Keeping an eye on the pre-market low at $6 even. S&P's losing a little bit of steam here. Made a new pre-market high at 1763. So a little bit of resistance here. $2 off the major resistance at 1764. Shares of ExxonMobil moving up here, 57 cents. We did miss Thursday's high of 90.55, only got to 90.48. Consolidation continues in shares of Microsoft here. Multiple highs at the 35.70 level. have not been able to break out of that range, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. High in Microsoft today, 35.71, major resistance there, and you got the major support down at the 35.30 to 35.40 level. Also, taking a look at another stock that's just had some wicked consolidation. Shares of Wells Fargo for the majority of the last 8-10 trading sessions, trading between 42.55 and 33. Got up to 42.84 here before pulling back. So consolidation continues here in shares of Wells Fargo. Johnson and Johnson trading down 9 cents here. Strong close on Friday. Not getting the follow through yesterday's high. Pulling back, also trading below the close. Actually missed Friday's high by 8 cents here. Now pulling back below the close at 93.37. Probably won't find support until you get closer to 93 in shares of Johnson and Johnson. Procter and Gamble got some favorable ink in Barron's. Let's see how stock is reacting to that in today's trading. Took out Friday's high, but ran into resistance just ahead of Thursday's high at 81.60. So 81.55, the current high, 81.60. Potential resistance here in shares of Procter and Gamble. S&P selling off here a little bit, 60.75 low in the pre-market, a little over a 2-point range here. BlackBerry after trading up to 672, falling back a bit, 640 low in the regular session. We'll be keeping an eye on that below 640, pre-market low of $6 even.
Joel, you think it's gonna start trending back down towards $6? You think 650 is gonna end up being a bit of a resistance level or a support level? Excuse me here.
I'm looking for this thing. I mean, you made a low in the pre-market, $6. You're quite a ways above from that. Now what you're gonna happen is you got your 32-cent range in so far. There are probably some big orders in there now for people that aren't trading in the pre-market. So I think what you're gonna see here is just a lot of chop as the high frequency traders sniff out those orders and try and scalp out their pennies, their half a pennies, their quarter pennies, and so I mean, who knows? This thing could be stuck. I want to get real carried away on either side, especially if you break down to that 640 low. You're going to be, yeah, I think you're going to find buyers all the way down. Wouldn't get carried away buying it above 672 because you have all those short-term players that scooped it up on the cheap here, just looking to take some short-term profits. So we'll see. We'll see how long it takes BlackBerry to actually break out of this early trading range. One other issue did not get a chance to cover here. Pod Insulet Corporation, a maker of the Omnipod, something I have a little bit of familiarity with in this stock here. Barron's has talked about the valuations and kind of flying high here. Looking at the still holding the support level at the 38.50 level. You had the last three lows between 38.52 and 38.78, making a 38.62 low. So the negative article in Barron's doesn't seem to be having a spillover effect into shares of Pod. If you're looking to exit this thing on strength, 39.57 was Friday's high in the issue. Shares of General Electric here after a really strong day on Friday, making a 5-year high, have come up a little short of that so far here in today's trading session. 26.64 was your high from Friday. 26.59 your high in today's session. So a little bit of resistance here developing, and General Electric at the 26.60 level. there's any other issues here, we're about to close out the broadcast here on pre-market info for Monday, November 4th. If there's something that you're looking at in your portfolio or something you're looking at for shorter term trading, please send that over to us. Besides DJ out there in the chat room, we'd love to take a look at it. Try and give you a short term and a long term opinion on the market.
I guess they're being shy today.
Yep. We'll have to get them going. Maybe they're still depressed over that Michigan State game. I don't know.
Hey, you wanna take a look at either or both? I don't care. Men's Warehouse and Joseph A. Banks. I know we talked about the quick news item that hit this morning. Maybe take a look at Men's Warehouse to see it trading down.
Right. Boy, I tell you, this thing after getting that initial pop of the buyout, it's been kind of in a steady drip down here. 47.29 hit the high after the initial merger started to go through. You've had a low at 40.30, and with these kind of things, Brent, I just can't imagine, what that I can't think of what the stock was, but it was supposed to be taken over at 40, 42, and there was a battleground and everything, and then poof, they pulled out that bid and it was down 15 bucks, right away. So Joseph A. Banks, I mean, they're going to continue to go off of, they're going to continue to go after this company, but eventually they're just going to say the heck with it, and then it's going to flop right back down. Looking at Joseph A. Banks here, did made a 46.60 low in today's trading, but back up at the high at 47.33. So if you're looking for more money, in this potential takeover in the Men's Warehouse, don't bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. We will take one look here before we close out the broadcast with shares of Facebook here. DJ is noting here the trading activity in this thing. I'm just keeping an eye on the $50 level. There wasn't a major close there, but you did. After the earnings here, you got a double top up at the $52 level, and then the day of earnings, you had to close at 50.21 here. Now you're a buck and a half away from that. So as you move back up towards that $50 level, I think sellers are going to, pull back and look for support. 48.19 is the current low. If you're really trying to hold on to this thing, 46.50 was the low on earnings day. So we'll see what happens. That support at 46.50, but I think that major resistance. You don't get shares of Facebook getting back over that $50 level here. The short-term run in shares of Facebook could be in for a little bit of a correction. S&P still continuing lower off the pre-market, pre-market and regular session high right there, 1762.75, 1763. Now pulling back here to the 1760 level. Looking for support here. I like to take a look at mid-range on the day. We got a 10-point range, so shorter term target below the 1760 level could be 1758 mid-range. Below that, you do have support at the below the 17 level, 1754, 75 level. Pre-market low at 53 and a quarter. And just one final update here. Shares of BlackBerry continue to move higher here. 690 as last trade, 692. Recouping a lot of those losses from the pre-market session. We'll see if us sellers step out here at the $7 level. That's our show for the morning for today, Monday, November 5th. We'll be back with you tomorrow.